The Knicks could be preparing to make a massive trade, according to ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski. For weeks, the New York Knicks have been in reports indicating that they're looking to trade for a star or superstar player. And now, thanks to Woj, we now may know when the New York Knicks are looking to make that move. We're going to break down all of this and so much more today. So be sure you're subscribed to the channel and have notifications turned on so you don't miss a second of the new content. And now, let's get started. Adrian Wojnarowski believes the New York Knicks are preparing to make a massive trade. Now, this is not surprising in the least, because over the last few weeks, Leon Rose and the Knicks have been in a lot of reports, and those reports have indicated that the Knicks are looking around the league for a star or a superstar player. So they're already indicating to a lot of teams that they are willing to make a trade if the package is right to get that star on this Knicks team. But let's see what Adrian Wojnarowski states about the Knicks and when potentially they can look to make that move. Shout out to New York Basketball on the app X for giving us the following information from Adrian Wojnarowski. Woj on the Knicks. The Knicks have been preparing themselves with draft assets and the development of young players to make the kind of big trade necessary to move into the elite of the Eastern Conference and the NBA. I don't think they feel a need to force that trade at the deadline, but I do think they're anxious to find that deal by the offseason. There's a ceiling on this current roster, although it's no small accomplishment given the last few decades in New York to have constructed a consistent playoff team. But yes, they need to make the next step, and they've positioned themselves well to do so once another star or stars become available for a trade. This is a massive report from Adrian Wojnarowski. Shout out to Woj for giving us this important update on the Knicks and when they're likely going to make that superstar or star trade. And as he mentioned, that move is likely going to happen this offseason. It's unlikely to happen at this trade deadline. Does that mean it's impossible? I wouldn't say that. If something like the Cleveland Cavaliers do even worse and they spiral even worse out of control and Donovan Mitchell is the name available at the trade deadline, I think Leon Rose and company will pick up that phone and see what it would take to get Donovan on the team. But if that doesn't happen, I think the Knicks are content in being patient and waiting for that star to become available. And that move is likely going to happen during this offseason. And they may not go after only one star. Did you take notice to what Woj said in the ending of that quote? They may go after stars this offseason. So clearly, if you were thinking that the New York Knicks were only going to end up with one star, according to Woj, they may end up with two. Let's say they get a star caliber player in free agency. That ends up being the one star. Then they can use their assets to trade for the other star. That's how they get star two. In my opinion, that absolutely could be the move. But it depends on who you may consider a star. Because what if they get OG Anunoby in free agency and then this offseason they trade for Donovan Mitchell? Would that check the boxes in terms of two stars? Because I would make the argument Donovan Mitchell, definitely box office star. OG Anunoby, likely a rising star. So maybe, potentially, depending on the fan that you are, that could check the box in the New York Knicks making significant upgrades this offseason. And moves like that absolutely could happen this offseason. Maybe the move isn't OG Anunoby though. Maybe they go out and get a bigger name free agent. And then they make a superstar trade, get that player on the Knicks, and they pair that with Jalen Brunson and a couple of other pieces that they're lucky enough to keep on the roster. And maybe that's the team going forward. I'm not sure who the players or the pieces the New York Knicks are going to go after. But one thing is for sure, Adrian Wojnarowski definitely backs the fact that the New York Knicks are going to make a trade, going to get a star, might end up with two stars, but that trade is likely going to happen this offseason. If the Knicks are going to make a move during the deadline, it's likely going to be for a role player, not a star. And Brian Windhorst actually helps double down on this report as well too. According to Brian Windhorst, he states in his trade deadline rundown on the chances that the Knicks will make a significant trade. He states maybe. The Knicks could make a massive offer if a star comes to the market, but they have shown patience in waiting for the perfect move. This report, along with Woj's report, helps support the fact that the New York Knicks are likely going to make that star or superstar trade during this offseason. The only way they make a star trade during this season is if that star player becomes available, if it's the star that they want, and if the trade package is favorable for Leon Rose and the Knicks. If all of those boxes aren't being checked, then the Knicks are not going to make that star move during this season. They're going to make that move during the offseason. So that means that a role player is likely the only move the Knicks make for this trade deadline. And if they do that, there's a couple of names that are likely going to be on the list. The most realistic for me is Boban Bogdanovic, because the Knicks can give back Detroit their pick, and in return, they can give them Evan Fournier as well too. And then Detroit can give back the Knicks Boban Bogdanovic, and that would help both parties, because the Knicks would get a shooter, a consistent, reliable person that they can depend on off the bench to give them three-point shooting. And then Detroit gets their pick back that they can utilize for a trade. That's one of the trades out there. They can make a number of other trades at the deadline as well too. Some smaller trades, maybe a trade with Utah. Maybe they can look that direction with Jordan Clarkson. He might be available, but we don't know exactly what that trade is going to cost the Knicks. And then you got to deal with Danny Ainge. So we don't know exactly who's going to be available, who the Knicks are going to want to target, but it's clear. The Knicks need more shooting. The Knicks need better spacing, and the Knicks need more size. So if they're going to do that, at this point in time, the only way to do that is to make a trade. And there's another name potentially the Knicks could go after, and that's Saddiq Bey. The only unfortunate part is he plays for the Atlanta Hawks. I don't know why the Hawks and the Knicks would want to do business and help each other out, but maybe it makes enough business sense for both parties to look in each other's direction and make a move happen. Saddiq Bey is also a former Villanova player. He would give the Knicks size, give the Knicks shooting, and he would absolutely help the Knicks add a wing, add a position that they need a fit at the most, and Saddiq Bey could help with that. Again, I'm not sure exactly who the player the New York Knicks and Leon Rose are going to target, but absolutely, you can bet that they're going to be big-time players come this trade deadline. They need to use Evan Fournier's deal, and they're likely going to use his contract, a couple of picks as well too, to get a player, a significant player back from that trade on this team that can help this Knicks team compete in the Eastern Conference. But that's what I think the Knicks are going to do at this point in time. If you're looking for that star or superstar trade, that's happening this offseason. So you're going to have to wait till then. But if you're looking for a role player and that type of trade, just stay pat and patient, because that's going to happen very, very soon in my opinion. But what about you guys? What do you think about these trade reports from Adrian Wojnarowski? What do you think about the New York Knicks potentially making this major move this offseason? And if they do, who's that star? Who are the stars that they're going to go after? Let me know in the comments below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below, and of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace.